channel. My name is Jennifer Diamond and I live a whole food plant exclusive, SOFAs-free, gluten-free lifestyle for health and well-being. And today I'm going to be making some veggie broth from scraps. Come on, let's do it together. So originally I learned how to make veggie broth out of my organic vegetable scraps from Chef AJ and her The Secrets to Ultimate Weight Loss book. The original recipe is on page 194 and it's called No Sodium Veggie Broth. And I have taken that and kind of, changed it a little bit. Sometimes I use that one. And so I thought I would bring you along and we could make it. It's very simple. So what I have done is I've collected all my little bits and pieces that I would have either composted or thrown out that I wasn't going to be cooking with anymore. So tops of carrots, the paper to garlic and onions. Some people don't like to use the paper from the garlic and the onions because they claim that it gives the broth a bitter taste. I haven't noticed that, so I put it in. I've got scraps from, zucchini ends and just anything that I wasn't going to ingest when I was making it. And I've had it in the freezer, and I just collect it until I get a decent sized bag. And this even has pieces of carrots, cabbage, carrots, it looks like even asparagus. So one thing about doing this is that you'll always have a different flavor because you're using different vegetables. And so this bag looks like it's been around for a while. It's got a little hole and pieces are already starting to come out, but that's okay because we're gonna use this. Now, in the original recipe, it talks about using a full-size bag. I have found that I can use half a bag and then I can, double even that amount. So I think for today I'm going to use half a bag of this, and then what I do is I take my beautiful Instant Pot. I want to open that up. I'm going to put it on this side so that it doesn't block you. And I'm just going to go to the side here and pour in about half the bag. And now I can, tomorrow or later today or whenever, I can continue to use up what's in this bag and, here's another one. But, if you wanted to put the whole thing in, you can. I feel like this is plenty. So let me go ahead and stick this back in the freezer and I'll be back to go forward. Now, another thing that I have been collecting is I made a recipe that used zucchini, but not the juice. And I don't really remember exactly what that was, but I didn't want to throw out any of the zucchini juice or any of the scraps, so I saved that. And it looks like I put some of it in an ice cube tray. I can pull out and, show you. This was from an ice cube tray, and so I'm going to throw some of this in there. So let's do that. And then I also make a lot of celery juice, especially lately. And although I probably have scraps of celery in there, I also have collected the celery pulp. Now, here's where I made the mistake. I put it in a bag just kind of as I went, and it looks like it's several different, times, because I can tell this right here was one. Let's see. And then this in the middle looks like another one. Anyways, long story short, it's kind of frozen solid, and I was taking a spoon and trying to bang it so that I could separate it and put some of it in there. But I think what I would recommend next time is to either freeze them separately and once they're frozen, combine them into a bag, or put it into super cubes or something so that you have the portions and you don't run into this problem. There are other uses for for celery pulp, but I just thought it would be fun to put some in today, but doesn't look like it. So I'm gonna let it thaw a little, break it up a little so that I don't have this problem next time. And so I'm gonna actually leave that out. Now, you could add all kinds of other things if you wanted. I have fresh, tomatoes. So if you had any scraps of tomatoes, I would say put those in, or if you wanted a tomato flavor, you could put them in. The thing that I don't like about putting in good food, and when I say good food, not scraps, is that then I won't use it. Now, some people will not drain the broth and they'll just blend it up. So maybe they wouldn't use the scraps. Maybe they would use a whole carrot or tomatoes, and then they blend it and then it becomes like a thicker broth. But for my, what I'm doing today, I'm gonna drain it. So I'm just showing that you could throw in tomatoes, or if you had scraps or a tomato that was kind of looking like it was on its way out, throw it in there. This is, I'm not going to put this in today because I'm going to use this for a different recipe, but I just wanted to show you that you could put anything in. You could even add frozen corn or peas, different types of mushrooms, and, have different types of broth. Also, in the original recipe, it calls for basil, oregano, thyme, bay leaf, rosemary, and, I just ran out of oregano, so I'm not going to put that in. But in here, I have thyme, basil, and rosemary. And then I have some little pieces of bay leaf. Because I'm going to drain it, I went through my bay leaves, and I just kind of opened it up and let some of the broken pieces out. So they're kind of scraps too. Anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and dump this in. And you could use any spices that you like. And just know that the notes, the flavor notes, will be different based on what type of seasoning you want. So let's say you want a broth that has more of an Indian undertone or something different like that. Then you could use those types of seasonings or flavors, just anything. But that's another way to change up the flavors. And then for futures, dishes that you're doing, you can mark them and say, okay, this one has more of the undertone of this flavor and that flavor. But for today, I'm just doing like a basic veggie broth. And so the next thing we're going to do is add water. And this is water that I have a little bit over 8 cups in here. This I got from my Berkey. I'm going to go ahead and fill this up and see where it goes. I'm using a 6-quart Instant Pot because that's what I have. And I might be able to do more than that. Yep, I am going to. So you can see, let me see if I can move this a little bit in the center. Hold on. So you can see that we're not quite here. So give me a minute and I am going to get some more water. Let's see if this is enough. Ooh, looks like I could go a little bit more, so I'm going to go a little bit more. Oh, wow, that's perfect. It went just a hair under the max line. So for me, that's going to work great. I was thinking about some other things that I could mention. If you wanted, you could even, spice this up. I have serrano peppers in my freezer because we have a serrano pepper tree. So you could do any kind of pepper. You could use like even red pepper flakes if you wanted to kick it up a notch. But, even other scraps, I mentioned some, but there's fennel and spinach, and I mean, the list goes on and on. Anything that you use in cooking can create a beautiful broth. So this is basically it for now. I'm gonna close this up. We've got our spices in here, and we've got our clean water and all of our scraps. And let's see, it wants us to put it on high for 15 minutes. So let me lock this up. 11 o'clock, and then I'm going to also make sure that the vent is closed, and then of course plug it in. There we go, it's off. I'm gonna turn it on. I'm gonna do 15 minutes. But the truth is, you could go longer if you wanted. I think I've probably gone 20 or 30 minutes, you know, just to let it, but you can do it, the original recipe says 15 minutes. And there was the bell letting me know that it understands what I want it to do, and it's gonna start doing its thing. So I will be back to check it with you as soon as it's ready. Okay, so the timer beeped and I was waiting for a natural release, and when I came down, I noticed that on the front of my Instant Pot, it has a C7. And I've only had that come up a time or two. And I think that might mean that, you know, it's burning, but, so why I think that came up is because I added the frozen vegetables before the water. Usually I add the water and then add the frozen vegetables, or I stir it. Do you want to just make sure nothing's sticking to the bottom? So if you add the vegetables first and then the water, just give it a quick stir. So let's see if anything happened with our broth. It smells amazing, and I'm sure it's fine. All right, I am going to go ahead and check. The venting is opened and it's out, and the lid is a little hot. Ooh. Oh yeah, that looks good. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. Whoops, cancel. And I'm going to unplug it. And I'm just going to give it a little stir. Oh yeah, there's nothing stuck at the bottom. I wonder why it did that. And I just also want to take this moment to, you know, just say, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please hit the subscribe and the little notification bell so that you'll be notified when I go live or post new videos, and just to help spread the word and let others be able to find my channel. Thank you so much. So this looks really great, and there's nothing really to stir. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you, you could let this cool, which is probably the best idea because you don't want to get burned. But I am going to try to show you how I strain it. So there are some different straining ways of doing this. I usually use my Vitamix container. I've tried it in bowls before, and it's just really hard to pour, and I end up using a ladle, which is fine. I sometimes still do that. If this gets too full and I don't have anywhere to, you know, go, and I might do that today, I'll bring out a bowl with a ladle. But this is the easiest way to fill it up the first time. And so different ways that I strain it is, I really like using a nut bag. And this one is stained because of all of the use that I've used to strain out veggie broth, the veggies from the broth. If you didn't have a nut bag, no worries. You can use one of these. They come, when I bought them, they came two in a pack, and these are just paint strainers. And I've mentioned this before, and you could get these at any hardware store, and they're just mesh, and you know, you can see they're very, very thin, so they would be able to drain it very well and strain it. Another idea would be cheesecloth. And if you're not familiar with cheesecloth, it's a cotton. This one is not even opened. I'm going to go ahead and open it just to show you what it is. This would be my least favorite for this just because it's exactly what it says. It's a cloth. So it's not a bag. I find that with the bags, it's a lot easier to have more control. But it can be done. Let me see. So here you go. This is cheesecloth, and it's very fine. So you would, look at that big hole right there. So we would have to roll it out and maybe double layer it like this. You can cut it, and then maybe for this, I would either put it over the top here like that, kind of push in a little and gently pour it in, or I might use a bowl for this one and just cover the top of the bowl. And the idea is that once it goes through, you can squeeze out and then discard this. Any of these will work. And like I said, if you are okay with, consuming what's in there, you could also just let it cool. And if you have an immersion blender, you could just blend it up, or you could put it in the Vitamix and blend it up. I personally like a clear broth, so I'm gonna be straining it, but just some options to show you. So I'm gonna go with my favorite, the nut bag, and put these over here. And this guy is still pretty solid, pretty frozen. So I'm just gonna let that keep thawing. And let me just put this aside. Okay, so I'm gonna actually take the lid and move it out of the way so that it's not in your way and it's not in my way. And this is super, super hot right now. Well, there's a few different ways. I like to put this over the top and then try to pour some of it in here. Now, when I do that, I do like the bag to be down in here, in the container. If I try to fold it up and just have it straight across, well, first of all, it won't work with this one, but let's say if I did, then all the stuff that's straining isn't gonna have anywhere to go. So it doesn't have to touch the bottom, but I do like it to be in the bag. It'll make it easier. And I am gonna get out a bowl, so let me do that. So because it's so hot, it's wiser to wait until it cools. But because I'm trying to show you and I don't want to keep waiting, I'm gonna attempt to do this without waiting. So I'm just gonna try to pour some of this broth right in there. Whoa, hold on. Okay, better. There we go. Notice I'm putting this hot container on my cutting board. I would never recommend anybody put anything hot directly on your countertop, as it could crack it or cause trouble. So this doesn't have too much in it right now. So you can see the beautiful broth. Most of the scraps are still in this container. So this is one reason why I do like to have a bowl. So you can see how nice, rich of a color that is. And then I'm just gonna pour it in here so that I can continue straining with this container. Okay, and if I look in the bag, there's nothing in it yet. So I'm gonna go ahead, I hook it on the little spout part. That just helps keep the bag from, you don't want the bag, when you're pouring stuff in there, you don't want the bag to fall in, because especially if it's, well, hopefully for you it'll just be warm and you won't do what I do. But anyways, here we go. I'm gonna go again. Okay, and now we're getting to the goodies. Okay. And so now if it's hot still or warm, or you just don't want to use bare hands, you could either use, these are rubber oven mitts, or if you use like purple kitchen, purple, they don't have to be purple, mine are purple. If you use like kitchen gloves, then it would have to be room temperature or cooler because the heat will go through these, but some kind of something to protect your hands. And then what I do is I just take it out and put the bag together at the top. Now I wouldn't do oven mitts that are cloth or, you know, anything other than a rubber, so that they, you know, that will be better for, you know, the liquid touching. And then I just squeeze out whatever I can, get all the juices and all the broth that we just made. Yum. Smells so good. There's nothing like homemade broth. Oh my goodness. And you know, we already bought all the food here, so it's kind of like free. I think Chef AJ mentions that on the recipe that, you know, you already bought it. And so buying store-bought, which I do if it's, you know, like it for a backup, as long as it's no oil, no salt or additives, but it is expensive. And so it's kind of like, well, we're already getting something here with food that we already bought, essentially. So there we go. And you can see that I have some scraps in there, which, well, I guess I shouldn't put it back in here. Hold on, let me put these somewhere else. So if you have a compost, this would be a great time to put this in the compost. Unfortunately, at this time, I don't have a compost. I hate to say that, but because I hate to waste anything. But we all do the best that we can, right? Pour the rest of the vegetables and the broth in here, hopefully without spilling too much. There we go. There. Nice. And so, you know, there's a little bit on the bottom, you can see, but for the most part, we got rid of it. And then we can just take the bag out again, out of the container. These are like wearing, you know, mittens in the snow, which we don't have here in Arizona, but if you live in the snow, you might be better at wearing this. And it's amazing how much you can get. So we filled this container, this Vitamix container, 2 1/4 so far. Maybe I won't get half, but you know, definitely got a lot of broth. Just love this. And so then I'll be all ready for another recipe in the future that I can use the broth with. And you know, another thing you can use this broth or any broth or just plain water is when you're cooking on the stove and you want to saute something, because you know, I don't use oil or I don't promote oil, and so you can definitely saute, like I've showed in previous videos, you know, onions and mushrooms and just all kinds of stir fries. And if it sticks a little, you can add a little flavor with the homemade broth that you have. So for the most part, I think we got it all. So look at that, another, let's see, how many cups is that? Another, almost 2 cups, 1.5 cups or so, let's see. Yeah, I think it's, yep, it's 1.5 cups plus this big pot. And I could probably get a little bit more out of this if I wanted, but for the most part, I think that's good. And so now at this point, let's see if it, I don't want it to spill, but let's see if I could bring it over here and let's see what happens if I always like to push the limits just a little bit. Let's see, could I put it all in here? Yes, look at that. Yay! So here we go, everybody. We have homemade, beautiful broth that didn't cost us anything because we used scraps in the freezer. And we flavored it, and it's ready to go. I wish you could smell it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let this cool, and then I'll be back to measure and freeze it and talk to you about how I store it. Okay. So anyways, what I want to do now is I want to measure out a certain amount of cups, because when I freeze it and I'm ready to use it, you know, or even if I keep it in the refrigerator and I know that I'm going to use it within like 5 to 7 days, I won't freeze it. Otherwise, I freeze it. I want to be able to know how much this is so that I can, you know, if a recipe or if I need to know a certain amount of cups, I know what I have. And there have been times when, you know, I need 6 cups and I only have 4. So I know, okay, I can add 2 cups of water, you know, that kind of thing. So anyways, I could measure it in my Vitamix. Or sometimes I just use a 2-cup measuring, and what I do is I can either, you know, well, this is an ice cube tray, and if I wanted small amounts, I could freeze some in here, and then I would use these maybe for if I was using it in a stir fry, just to keep things from sticking. I would have little ones, but most of the time I freeze them in bags of 2, 4, or 6 cups. And sometimes I use these super cubes. I'm gonna link everything in the show notes so that you'll be able to find anything if you are unfamiliar and you wanna you know, try something out. These are really wonderful. And I have another one too that's, this is a 2-cup, I have a 1-cup. What's great about these is in the inside, I don't know if you can see this, let's see. There is, it says 2-cup, let's see if I can bend it up to show you. 2-cup and 1 cup with a little line. And on the other side, it's the milliliters. And so, you know, if you fill it halfway, then you know that's the 1 cup, the 2-cup is all the way. And the other one that I have actually has something in it in the freezer. I'll grab it just to show you. And so this is, you know, the 1 cup or half cup. And let's see if I open it up. I only have half of them used, so you can see this, in case you're wondering, is homemade pumpkin that I froze, and I just need to transfer it out of here, which maybe we'll do today. Anyhow, another way that I do it that's kind of risky, and sometimes I'm kind of risky, is I don't use a container. So I'll show you what I need. I like for freezer stuff to use this food saver, and I will also link one of these in the show notes. This is an older version of a food saver. I just took the back out with the plug, and what I do is push that in, and there you go. And what it does is it vacuum seals things, so that I don't have to worry too much about it getting freezer burn and things like that. I also really enjoy using it for travel. I love to, like, you know, oatmeal and different things. But for the broth, I'm going to go ahead and plug it in and show you another way to do this. Now here's an example of a soup that I made a while ago, and just to show you, because it was a liquid, this I had put in the 1 cup super cubes, froze it, and then created a vacuum bag. Now I also label everything so that I can find it. So let me put this in the freezer and we're going to do some. Okay, so on this guy, hopefully you can see that, there's a little latch here, and then I'm just gonna, I wonder if I probably need to try to turn this around so you can see it better, which will just make it more difficult for me, but hey, that's okay. So what I do is, I have these bags. They come in sizes, but I use the roll because I like to create my own size. And yes, it is not friendly for the environment, but until I figure something else out, this is what I do. So I just log it in and I seal to make a seal at the bottom so that when I put things in it, nothing will fall out the end, and it just has like a little heating mechanism. The light went on, the light is off, which tells me it's ready now. And then you can see this little line here. So I measure whatever, you know, I kind of know by now. I measure however much I think I'm going to fill it with, and then I give it a little extra, and then I cut it, and here I have my bag. So for a bigger amount, so I'm thinking 4 to 6 cups. So for that, I think I'll go ahead and use this guy, and then I just take my ladle and I just put it in here. There's measurements on my canister here. Let's see where we are. Yep, we got a little ways to go. So that's about 2 cups. And usually I like to do it in 2 or 4 cup increments. Every once in a while I'll do a big 6 cups. And let me see where we are now. We are about just under 4 cups. So I think I'll go to 4 cups and then see how that fits in the bag that I made. And yep, that's 4 cups right there. So then, I could at this point go ahead and pour it in the super cubes, but I wouldn't need to measure it in, because there are measurements on the super cubes. But if I was doing, you know, anything that didn't have a measurement on it, I would want to measure it. So here I go. And this is quite a big bag, bigger than what I usually do. So I think I'm going to do 2 more cups. I think I'm going to do 2 more cups. So I'm going to set this aside. And this is where it gets a little crazy, right? Because this is liquid and the bag is open and it's not super stable. So that's what I mean when I say that I'm being risky, taking a chance. So let's see here. I could do 2 more cups. And I'm using my non-dominant hand, which is really good, right? Because it keeps our brain active. I'm not used to using it there. Let me see. Oh, it's just a hair under 2. So let's go with a little bit more. It's hard to see at this angle, so I have to keep going down here. And there it is. So I'm going to have a total of 6 cups. So before I add it, I'm just going to, next to where I wrote cups, I'm going to write that there are 6 cups here. And I cut more of the bag off than I normally would, because I wanted to make sure I had enough to show you, because every once in a while I don't cut enough of the bag and then I have to use it for something else, but I should trust myself, right? Okay, so this food saver will seal out all the air. But if you have something that's not frozen, I don't want it to seal out the air. I'm going to take out as much air as I can, and I'm just going to push the seal button. If I was going to take the air out, I would push the vacuum and seal button. And then I think I'm also going to put, the speed is going to be gentle, and I'm going to put that there's moist food. Couple little settings. Now I'm going to come to this side, and normally what I would do, and I guess I'll show you what I normally do, and I don't recommend this. Normally what I would do is I would lean this at the end of the table here, of the counter, and I would use that to kind of help me get all the air out. But if anything happens and this bag gets let go of, then it's all going to fall on the floor. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to pull it off the edge. I hope you can see this. And I'm just going to lay it on this strip. And I'm putting a lot of pressure on it because I don't want to let it let go. And then I'm going to lay this down. There are probably much easier ways than the way that I'm doing this right now, like freezing it ahead of time. Whoa, so it's in now, and now I'm just going to push seal. Okay, and now I want to also make sure that it really did seal all the way, so I'm going to bring it up here so that it wouldn't go crashing down and spilling everywhere. And sure enough, it did. So here we go. Now I have a sealed bag of liquid. And what I like to do is lay it flat like this. There's only a small amount of air. Here's an example of one. It's just got a small amount of air and it looks like it wasn't laying totally flat, but that's okay. This is black bean broth. I had made black beans. I used the black beans and kept the water for soups or whatever. Anyhow, this way in the freezer, I can stack them or I can sometimes I put things this way and kind of file them. And anyways, this is, you know, how it can look in one aspect. And you've also seen it when it's in the super cubes. And I'm gonna see if I can make that a little easier. So let's try again. I'm not gonna use the seal button. Now, if these were frozen, I would use the seal button. And this time I did not write on the bag first, because I can show you that you could do it afterwards if you want. So let me lift the lid. I'm gonna bring it to the edge. And I'm just gonna lay it down on the strip. And then I think the trickiest part of doing this way, because gravity is against you, right, is getting your fingers out of the way and sealing it up. But this is what works for me. This way I can get as much air out of it as I can without using the vacuum button. I'm just putting some pressure on here, lock it in place. Now it's in place, and the bag is now just hanging here and it has very minimal air. Now I'm going to push the seal button. So what would happen if I pushed the vacuum button? Well, it would suck all the liquid out into the machine. So with liquid, you have to have it frozen if you want to use that. And now it's done. And there we go. So this was 4 cups. So I'll just write, 4 cups. I'll put the date, the month and year, and then I'll put what it is. Homemade veggie broth. All right, so we have a 6 cup, we have a 4 cup, and then the rest I would maybe divide up into 2 cups. So I could probably get 2 or 3 of those out of this. And so hopefully this was helpful for you, and you could see different ways that I freeze things, that I store things, how I make the veggie broth, and then I'll be all ready for anything that comes up that has a use for the broth. So thank you so much for tuning in, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and I hope to see you again soon. If you want to chat, please feel free to leave a comment in the comments. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.